Good morning to you all, friends. Greetings on the World Environment Day. What an occasion to celebrate with the webinar on the theme, Save Our Mother Earth, Integrate Sustainable Development Goal into Business Practices and Reporting. I am Dr. Sanjeev Singhal, Chairperson of the Sustainability Reporting Standard Board. And today at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, we have organized a theme with the best-in-class experts on the subject. The whole panel will be led by CA Nihar and Jambusaria ji, the Honorable President ICI, CA Dr. Devashish Mitra, the Honorable Vice President ICI, CA Suresh Prabhu, who is the Chief Guest and Honorable Member of Parliament Rajya Sabha, and Prime Minister Sherpa to G7 and G20. Ms. Sanyukta Samadda, who is an advisor, SDG in the Niti Aayog, and compliments to her. Only yesterday, the new index for 2021 for India for SDGs has been brought out, and what a performance. 66 out of 100 in 2021, and we have 9 years to go. So I'm sure that we will beat this target. And then we have Mr. Shri Prakash Shukla, who is the Chairman, Group Sustainability Council, Mahindra and Mahindra Group, a proud recipient of the first award, first prize winner from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India on integrated reporting. Compliments to you, Mr. Shukla. And then we have Dr. Vinita H. Apte, founder and president, Cherry Policy Center, a top environmentalist. Thank you, ma'am, for joining. We'll also be joined by Shri Chaitanya Kalia,
recording in progress,
and sustainability services leader at Ernst & Young. So once again, my greetings to you all. And before I deliberate on my topic, and this is going to be a thematic discussion where we have requested each panelist to deliberate for about 10 to 15 minutes on a particular topic. And before I talk about the role of chartered accountant in the sustainable development goal, I would request office to play the video film which the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has made on the sustainability aspect, highlighting what ICAI Sustainability Reporting Standard Board is doing, and we have also plans to translate it into Hindi so that it can reach to more and more people. Requesting office to kindly play it.
Earth's ecosystem has been facing far-reaching challenges as humankind solely focuses on social and economic development. The balance between nature and humans is gravely skewed. Natural resources are depleting like never before. One part of the earth faces severe rainfall, whereas the other part of the world is experiencing severe droughts. Millions are suffering. In 2019 alone, the world was hit by 308 natural disasters, of which 77% were climate-related. For the past 50 billion years, Earth has been supporting billions of species. But now, the animal kingdom is shrinking unprecedentedly, with 52% of the wild population lost in the past 40 years. The biggest narrative now is how do we create a future in which both people and nature can thrive? Earth has entered a new phase of existential crisis. We need to do something radical to reverse the environmental damage. Understanding this grave situation, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI, believes that we can save our planet and create a better future by working closely together. ICAI, in line with 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda of the UN, has come up with this sustainable initiative to be implemented across its 5 regions and 164 branches. ICAI is encouraging its 750,000 students and 3 lakh active members to choose sustainable living as the best choice for preventing more environmental harm. ICAI has an all-inclusive system of actions, clearly established priorities, goals for achieving climate change in a sustainable manner, adopting simple strategies. India is the third largest emitter of CO2 in the world. It produced about 2.6 billion metric tons of CO2 in 2018. Before doing anything, always question, will this action threaten the environment if performed over and over again for billions of years? If the answer is yes, don't do it. That is what the word sustainable implies. Phasing out fossil fuels and replacing them with renewables will not only slow down the warming of the planet and acidification of the ocean, but will also lead to clean air to breathe. Car and bike pooling are the smart ways of commuting today. By promoting shared mobility, we can drastically reduce the consumption of fossil fuels and save 50% of fuel expenses while also reducing CO2 emissions. Every day, around the world, 80,000 to 160,000 trees are cut down, with a substantial percentage used in the paper industry. Replacing paper with technology is the best way to save the trees and increase green cover. Increased usage of air conditioners, refrigerators, and other electric appliances increases the emission of greenhouse gases and depletes the ozone layer further. Installing solar panels can save thousands of units of electricity, which in turn reduces the burden of fossil fuels. We can also pursue a few simple things as individuals. Turn off electric appliances if you don't need them. Avoid packaged foods. Use recycling paper, spoons, glasses for your social gatherings. Buy locally sourced, organic, plant-based, unprocessed foods from local farmers. Use refillable water bottles and reusable bags for grocery and vegetable purchases. Introduce e-learning wherever possible. Use heat reflection paints and biowalls to reduce heat ingress and reduce temperatures naturally. All of these are doable and simple, yet effective ways to live sustainably. ICAI, as an organization, truly upholds the power of our students and members to come together and avert the environmental crisis that India and whole world faces. The world has experienced how nature rejuvenated during the COVID-19 global lockdown. People stayed home while nature did its work. We have the world on lease from our future descendants and not from our ancestors as an ancestral land. It is often said, it is our duty to leave this world for the coming generations in better condition. Let's do our best to build a cleaner, safer, and greener future for everyone.
Thank you very much. So friends, this Sustainability Reporting Standard Board, your own Sustainability Board was formed last year. And since then, SRSB has taken many initiatives of increasing the awareness about sustainability. We also came out with an auditing standard on the sustainability, and we are working with Security Exchange Board on the social stock exchange. We are also working with Niti Aayog, wherein they are working on the SDGs for the private sector, and now we have instituted certain awards on the Sustainable Development Goal and international awards also on the climate change and gender equality. So there is a lot to look forward to. And I would also like to share with all the esteemed members that ICI, under the leadership of the Honorable President C. Nihar Jambusaria ji, has also decided that all our future buildings will be green buildings, complying with the highest standard of the specifications by Swagraha. And we are aiming for 5-star ratings in all our buildings. With this, I would now like to invite my Vice Chairman in the board, C. Durgesh Kabra ji, for his opening remarks, and followed by that, I would like to introduce two of our panelists, Ms. Sanyukta Samadar and Mr. Shri Prakash Shukla. Over to you, Durgesh ji.
Thank you, Chairman sir. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be part of this wonderful webinar, which is being organized by Sustainability Reporting Standard Board under your leadership. A very good morning to one and all the speakers, as well as President, past President, and Honorable President of ICI, Nihar Bhai Jambusaria, the Vice President, Shri Devashish Mitra ji, and all the participants to this wonderful webinar on the day which is known as the World Environment Day. And this webinar is Save Our Mother Earth. So the important for all of us today is to take care of our Mother Earth. And on the occasion of this World Environment Day, Sustainability Reporting Standard Board of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India welcomes you all. And I request that let us save Mother Earth. Climate change continues to be at the top of the global agenda. However, the extent and the effectiveness of the global response to the climate change remains uncertain. Climate change presents the biggest threat to the sustainable development everywhere, and its widespread, unprecedented impact disproportionately burden the poorest and most vulnerable. Urgent actions to halt the climate change and deal with its impact is integral to successfully achieving all sustainable development goals. Pursuing climate actions and sustainable development in an integrated, coherent way offers the strongest approach to enable countries to achieve the target and 2030, which is the agenda for the sustainable development. There are such issues which must be addressed not only in the national strategy, but in the individual's choice too. That will all make the difference. Business have the unique opportunity to embrace the SDG agenda and recognize it as a driver of business strategy, innovation, and investment decision. The enhanced key disclosure on environmental, social, and governance embedding SDGs in business strategy is the need of our sustainability related disclosure should be comprehensive in scope and detail and rest on the principle of the transparency that is most important. Comparability and proportionality as equally is required to be added with the transparency. These disclosures are of growing importance to both investors and the stakeholders and act as a stimulus and transitioning towards this sustainable investment and sustainable economy. Sustainability Reporting Standard Board of ICAI is working persistently under the able leadership of Sanjeev Singhal ji, which is again a good task, and we are upskilling the members of our fraternity by having the various programs and the most important is with respect to the standards on audit for the purpose of sustainability, as well as the BRSR. Uh, then, for which we have the course. The board has developed the Sustainability Reporting Maturity Model version 1.0. Being an innovative concept in the sustainability ecosystem, the model offers the possibility for each corporate complying with the business responsibility and sustainability reporting to individual assess its position vis-a-vis various sustainability reporting maturity levels and achieve its vision of sustainable business. The webinar today's webinar would highlight the need of business to prioritize SDGs targets for saving the Mother Earth and enlighten the participants on the ways in which business can invest to restore the ecosystem. I welcome all the eminent speakers. It's our proud privilege to have them for deliberation today on this pertinent topic of global interest, integration of SDGs into business practices and reporting on the day of the environment, which is World Environment Day. As a generation, we face an array of global challenges which needs collaborative and focused efforts. These test boil down the fundamental challenges of making enlightened decisions today or tomorrow. That will place people and the planet on course for better and greener future. So once again, thank you all for giving me a patient listening, as well as I welcome you all to this wonderful webinar. I'm sure that everyone will get benefit out of it and how we can add in saving the earth. That's the thing. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, sir.
Thank you very much, Durgesh Bhai. The stage is now set for our esteemed panelists to share their views, starting with Ms. Sanyukta Samadar, who's an advisor for SDGs to the Niti Aayog, Government of India. Ma'am is an officer of the Indian Administrative Services with over 2 decades of experience across development, administration, policy making, planning, and financial management. She presently leads the SDG efforts of Government of India, and I've personally seen it how passionately she is working. We had discussions about the SDGs in the private sector. The booklets which have been brought out by Niti Aayog, both in terms of the efforts and in terms of their look and feel, they're amazing piece of work. Thank you so much, and compliments to you, ma'am. And recently, only yesterday, the SDG Index for 2021. I mean, maybe it's day before yesterday. We got to know yesterday in the newspaper, has been released for 2021, and India is at a very good score of 66 out of 100, which is certainly a big achievement, given that we have 9 years to go to reach to this 100. And she has been in senior leadership position across sectors of industry, multilateral and bilateral negotiations, rural development, and several departments of government of Uttar Pradesh. And I'm sure that under her leadership, India is on course, not only in the public sector, but also the full involvement of the private sector for achievement of sustainable development goal. Our board is also working on developing an annexure to the financial statement, whereby we can ask companies to provide information on efforts made towards achievement of sustainable development goal. We are working on a general set of parameters, which are short and limited number of parameters, whereby we start encouraging the companies to report on the sustainable development goal. This is in addition to what's been brought out by the Security Exchange Board of India on the BRSR, Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting, because that is mandatory only for 1,000 listed companies by market cap, and that too from 22-23. So we want every company to report on the SDGs. So thank you very much, ma'am, and we welcome you here. And I would request you to kindly give your keynote address. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's absolutely an honor to be a part of this esteemed panel. The chairman, Sahab, Sanjeev Singhal President of the ICAI, Jambusaria ji, and all our esteemed members of the panel, and all our friends and ladies and gentlemen from the chartered accountants who represent the key of the private sector, because it's the entire management is with you. So first of all, I would like to congratulate Singhal ji and especially the Sustainability Reporting Standards Board for organizing this discussion, which will focus on the SDGs and how we integrate the entire gamut of our business sector in the SDGs on this very auspicious occasion of the World Environment Day. And also, I would like to put on record a note of appreciation, deep appreciation on behalf of Niti Aayog for the amazing partnership and for the amazing collaboration that we have with Singhal ji and the SRSB, particularly in terms of strengthening this entire new area of work that even we as Niti Aayog have ventured into. So before I begin with the charitable compliments that Singhal ji has made on the SDG India Index, yes, I would definitely like to begin this discussion on the work which Niti Aayog kind of steers in the entire country. So as you know, we are the Niti Aayog is the nodal agency and the orchestrator for the SDGs, for the entire SDG framework in the country, not only at the national level but also coordinating it with all the states and the union territories and the CSOs sectors. So beginning with that, I have to say that we have been focusing extremely, very closely on localizing the SDGs, taking it down from the national level to the subnational level, to the district level, to the level of the society, basically engaging the civil society organizations, and now beginning, obviously, the private and the business sector. So in course of our work in localizing the SDGs, more so in terms of, contextualizing it in the planning process, in the implementation process, and more focused on developing the customized SDG monitoring frameworks, we have the SDG India Index, which we started in 2018. The first edition was released, and just on the third edition, 3rd of June, just 2 days back, the third edition of the SDG India Index and dashboard was released. And this has really caught the attention of the national media in all states and union territories, particularly the chief ministers, and also in most places, the opposition parties. So what I would like to say here is that this SDG India Index, the tool, is not only a tool for measuring and monitoring SDGs, but more so it's an advocacy tool. It sensitizes all our policymakers, our citizens, all our important stakeholders as to the importance of aligning their efforts in the development sector in all the three aspects of development, whether it's the human development, it's economic and infrastructure development, or it's the environmental aspect of development towards the SDGs. And as Singhal ji has rightly mentioned, there are reasons for optimism, particularly in this period of pandemic. From last year, there are signs of progress. India's score has improved from 60 to 66. What is very important is obviously that all the states have made progress in their scores. So there has been a consistent, even states who are at the bottom of the rank, everybody has consistently improved their scores in the last 2 years. I think that is something which is of interest to everybody, because all of us belong to some state or the other than being an Indian. So I would really request everybody through your platform, through this webinar, to have a look at the SDG India Index dashboard to see where our states are, how our states are moving, what are the key areas, what are the sectors which are making progress, what are the sectors which require more resources. This is particularly more important because everybody here, you are associated with business sector, you are associated with different sectors. So you will be able to appreciate the areas which require a lot more focus and which regions. For example, in the region of the Northeast, in the 8 states of the Northeast, it's the infrastructure which is a bottleneck. It's the digital connectivity which is a bottleneck. Things like in the eastern part of the country, what is working, what are the sectors which require intervention. So maybe this can be used by the business also in order to understand which are the regions which require, your resources, maybe in terms of your CSR, maybe in terms of your core operations and activities, and also which are the sectors which require more focused attention. So I would urge all of you to have a look at it. But going beyond what Niti Aayog does in terms of creating this entire localization tool and creating this entire process of localization for driving the SDG efforts in all the states and the union territories of India, I have to now talk about how important it is for the business sector to more and more align itself towards the SDGs. You would remember the former Secretary General, who's known as the father of the SDGs, Ban Ki-moon, and in the year in which the SDGs was adopted in 2015, he was the first, he had that, the vision that it cannot be done just by the governments. All these ambitious set of goals and targets cannot be just, achieved by the actions of the different governments, national governments or local governments. So he urged the business firms and companies across the globe to assess their environmental impact, to set very ambitious goals, and to communicate these results very transparently. So that visionary man at that point of time in 2015 had urged the private sector to develop and to integrate and to accept and adopt this entire SDG framework. Now, we have to understand that the SDGs represent a consensus between all national governments, that it's these partnerships which are forged among the private sector, the national and subnational governments, the CSOs, the international organizations, the civil society. This would actually be the key to achieving these ambitious goals by the year 2030. And that is what, even if India is at 66 at this point of time, we hope and we really will work and strive to build these partnerships across the civil society, across the business, and across the governments in order to actualize these targets much before than 2030. So having said so, I have to say that definitely this corporate motivation for achieving the SDGs, which Singhal very passionately talks about at every meeting that we've had, and I think this passion for SDGs is kind of being articulated today, that on the World Environment Day that we are talking, and we are reaching out to 1,100. I heard 1,100 participants have are watching this and are listening to this. So I think this motivation for achieving the SDGs can vary definitely from one business to the other. So what SDGs have provided is a huge horizon for new business solutions, and therefore while some businesses are motivated by their vision to contribute to the overall agenda, by their vision for doing good, other motivations could be social legitimacy, things of license to operate and build partnerships, getting more investment. So the idea of doing good and the idea of not doing harm, I think these two are some of the key areas of that we have to integrate amongst our companies in this entire process. So definitely I would not like to go into the detail of the entire frameworks that have come across. You are the masters of this and you have expertise on this. So definitely I would like to talk about that India has been progressing very fast and very quickly and matching it up with the global standards also. So we have the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, which were the precursor of this. And then these were again updated into the National Voluntary Guidelines by Forest. Then again, these got refined in terms of the National Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct, the NGRBCs. So the NGRBCs, I think they played the most key role in integrating the SDGs in this entire responsible business framework, and the 9 principles were evolved. I remember, Niti Aayog, in terms of integrating these NBRCs, the 9 principles in the SDGs, we were a very close part of it, and we were used to sit in the ICI and sometimes the Cost Accountant Institute also. So that's where we worked very closely with the team in terms of devising the BRSR formats. I think that is one of the biggest hallmarks. However, they are voluntary, and then they became, compulsory for certain companies with a certain capital threshold. However, what is important is eventually this has to spread to not merely the top companies, but has to go down and down and further into the entire length and breadth of the private sector, without that thing of being something which is mandatory, and more so it has to come from within the companies. And I think that is where you can play a very strong role in terms of internalizing this, so that it comes naturally to the companies that these are some of the key areas where we should try to work on, we should try to get data on, and also we should try to report on that. Why I'm saying this is that also the BRSR formats for non-financial disclosures, now these have become these are fast becoming very essential and mandatory if we want to tap the global pool of investment. So here, tapping into the foreign investment, particularly investments which are coming from the European Union, which has developed a taxonomy of environmental and socially aligned activities. I think this is where the sustainability disclosures of our companies, both financial and non-financial, is very important, because they have to report their exposure to the ESG risks, and which is again mandated by not only the G7, the G20, and the EU, but the EU-related, the Task Force on Climate-related Financial Disclosures. I think this TCFD is one of the most important developments that has happened in the global community, particularly in EU. And 60% of the world's 100 largest public companies have committed to supporting this TCFD recommendation. The focus has sharpened, obviously, and this becomes a very opportune moment for ICAI and SRSB to develop this public domain tool, which you were talking about, in terms of integrating the SDG parameters for disclosures and for voluntary disclosures, or maybe making it eventually trying to, make it an integral part of our disclosure system. I think this particular, it's not merely the understanding that these are integral to our entire business scenario, but also the need that we are facing, the companies are facing, to tap the investment pool, and the way the world has moved towards the taxonomy compliance from companies. I think that is where we would like that if Indian companies and if the corporate sector in India, not merely the large corporate, but more so obviously the MSMEs, the startups who are the ones who are in need of investment, if they have to actually tap this global pool, then it's very, very essential at this point of time to realize that this has to be aligned to our entire reporting framework, our disclosure framework. And that is where I think finally I would just like to say a couple of things. Basically, how do we go forward from here? So going forward, I think in the context of the private sector, I see a lot of enthusiasm from the top 500 to 1,000 listed companies, especially with the SEBI's regulatory push. But I think the real challenge here, as I'm sure we'll all, kind of agree to that, it will be to mainstream the SDGs. How do we mainstream the SDGs down our value chain with our smaller partners, with the MSMEs, with the startups who do not have maybe, the bandwidth or the capacity to do these kind of elaborate value chain mapping, the elaborate disclosures. So a lot of capacity building is also required, a lot of resistance, allaying down the fears of the MSMEs, allaying down the fears of the startups. And a lot of this resistance has to be overcome. I think this is where such kind of, engagement with stakeholders is very important, and SRSB can play a very strong role in this. And that's where I would like to compliment what SRSB is doing in terms of engaging with your stakeholders in order to build consensus among them. Finally, we have to understand that these things are going to stay, and these things are going to become more and more pronounced in the future. The faster we learn to accept it, and the faster we learn to, manage this, I think that will hold the key to the successful integration of the SDGs. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm so sorry if I've overshot my time.
No. Yeah, you're absolutely in time. And thank you so much for giving us an idea on the need to create awareness among the MSME. We'll see if we can have some short snippets or some short video in the local language. And we have a committee now for the MSME. So through that committee, we can promote and probably in the annexure that we are trying to develop, if we can have at least some questions, or that is the management aware about the sustainable development goal, and so probably if some of those generic questions are there, it will help create the awareness. So thank you so much, Sayukta ji, and we hope to working with you as well as Mr. Shukla on the parameters for judging our SDG awards, and we will reach out to you soon. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you. With this, now we move to Mr. Shri Prakash Shukla, who is the Chairman, Group Sustainability Council, Mahindra and Mahindra Group. Under his chairmanship, Mahindra Senno Special Steel achieved 70% reduction in freshwater offtake by improvement in the production processes and using the water harvesting schemes. My compliments to you. 70% reduction is a big achievement. He also serves as Group President responsible for the agri, aero, defense, and steel sectors, and particularly agri and the defense sector, and also the aviation sector. Sometimes these are seen as anti-SDGs because a lot of carbon emission is there. So I'm sure that if a person like you is there, you will be taking care of that. He's the chairman of board of several companies engaged in the domain of drip irrigation, sustainable farming, armored vehicles, aerostructures, and special alloy steel. He's affiliated with several renowned industry CEO forums with countries including France, Germany, Spain, and Israel. And he is also the recipient of the first prize from the ICI for the integrated reporting. His company received it last year. So compliments to you again, Mr. Shukla, and thank you so much for taking out time. And we would request your special address to now. We have more than 1,500 participants watching it live now. So over to you, Mr. Shukla.
Thank you so much, Chairman Singhal Sahab, Vice Chairman Kabraji, President Jambu Sariaji, all the esteemed speakers, Sanjukta ji, Vinita ji, and all others, and more than 1,500 participants. It is my honor to speak today on Environment Day on such an important topic like this. I'm thankful for having been invited. And thank you so much for mentioning the first ever award which our company received for integrated reporting. Thank you so much. There are three topics which you had mentioned we should try and cover. First was the ways in which businesses can invest to restore the ecosystems. Well, topic is vast. We have finite time, so I will be brief covering this topic. The current situation the humanity finds itself in is simply because there has been tremendous rise in carbon emissions, which has led to global warming, air pollution, even changes in the precipitation patterns which have happened. Having been in the field of agriculture, we have felt it acutely. And of course, last but not the least, new diseases are appearing due to changes which are happening. Cold countries which are getting warmer, you find flies and mosquitoes are reaching there, which were never there. You find in southern France, as well as parts of UK today, mosquitoes and flies. Things are spreading. We are changing the planet through our actions. Populations have grown exponentially. It's only a few decades ago that population of the world was 1 billion. Now, every few years, we add 1 billion people. As a result, human race is consuming more, in its quest for energy, drilling more, exploring for mineral resources, consuming more water. Population has definitely put a pressure on all natural resources. It is not that it is raining less today than it was raining in 1947. But per capita availability of water has become 1/4. And that is simply because our population is now 4 times. As a result, we do not have a choice but to be more efficient so that we consume less resources per person. While total resources consumed will continue to grow because of the growth in population on the planet, it has become imperative that we ensure financial well-being, social well-being, and environmental well-being of all three together as a comprehensive, integrated approach, and not just talk about one aspect, which could be either economic, financial, or GDP. Challenge of tackling climate change is a complex one. Impacts are far-reaching. Governments have made many commitments. I will not repeat them. Suffice it will to say that government alone cannot achieve all the goals which have been set out by the nation for itself. Each one of us, individually, or individual companies and organizations, or I would go and say even individual families, have to commit to these actions. Largely, they qualify very well within the SDG framework, on which I will come to in my second part. Sometimes people ask, what will I gain by adopting sustainable practices? It's a very good question, because there is no greater motivator to human beings to actually realize that things they are doing will not only help the planet, will not only help the society, will not only help others, it will also help themselves. We are witnessing today increased expectations from our consumers, from our shareholders, even our financiers who invest, that are your practices sustainable? Are you putting efforts into making products, making your operations, which will be sustainable in the long term and will not harm the planet? Recently, SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India, has formulated landmark ESG-centered regulation. It is on business responsibility and sustainability report for top 1,000 listed companies. There is also today a stewardship code for mutual funds and alternative investment funds. These regulations, along with substantial interest from the investor community and changing preferences of consumption of the society at large, will steadily drive ESG conversations into the boardrooms of the companies across multiple sectors in India. And I'm so glad that the Institute has taken, under the leadership of a chairman, vice chairman, president, has taken up this subject so seriously and has put it on top of the agenda. Now, what business models and strategies need to be developed and incorporated for integrating SDGs into our businesses? Very important question we need to answer. Now, to ensure that businesses integrate SDG into their strategy and action plans, first and foremost, we have to ensure that the leadership of the business realizes that SDG makes sense by themselves. Sustainability can be the biggest business opportunity of 21st century. It does not work counter to business. It works in tandem with business. There are many positive outcomes which come by adopting sustainable practices. I'm listing some, but it is not confined to them. First and foremost, there is lower cost of energy, and operational cost also come down due to material efficiency when you adopt sustainable practices. Second, you actually discover newer sources of revenue. Lot of waste you discover that it could be recycled or you could get value out of it. It leads to higher degree of adherence to all the compliance metrics, which leads to reduction in risk. Risk mitigation happens. You get a greater license to operate from local community, government, and your stakeholders. You get better access to funds. There are investors who only wish to invest today in green projects. Even you get better access to the consumers, especially the younger generation is more and more conscious, and that bodes very well for the planet. Brand equity of the company is enhanced, and business gets future ready because in spite of all efforts, consumption of resources is rising on the planet due to bigger population. We will be ready today for what we will face 2 or 3 decades later. So we become future ready by adopting right practices today. At Mahindra, SDGs have been mapped against our business priorities. The role of business is to offer solutions that will enable achievement of multiple SDGs. I'm going to give 1 or 2 examples. Take, for example, adoption of good seeds, good farm practices, farm mechanization. All of them will reduce more poverty, they will eliminate more hunger, and they will give more people a chance to experience good health than any subsidies which government can provide through its limited resources. Similarly, our business performance framework allows us in Mahindra to monitor our progress on SDG and sustainability framework. What practice is aligned to which SDG? We actually monitor and see how much progress we are making. We have an SDG report available on our website. This covers all our actions in detail on all 17 SDGs. We also have sustainability reporting using GRI framework since 2007. We were among the pioneer companies in India to start publishing annual integrated report since financial year 18 on voluntary basis. In a nutshell, it is a mix of leadership initiatives and policy interventions which will nudge the companies to align their business goals. I was asked that I should share something about how Mahindra goes about it. Idea is not to boast. Idea is the top 100 companies, top 500 companies share how they go about so that it percolates down all across the ecosystem. Ultimately, all 2 lakh companies in India should be conscious of this, and it should not remain the preserve of only the top few. With that objective and no other intent, I am sharing some of the things we do. Our sustainability framework and motto is first and foremost clearly defined and known to every employee. That build enduring businesses by rejuvenating the environment and enabling stakeholders to rise. In one line, we have captured how do we see our business and how do we go about it. We are committed to give examples of what is good for climate is also good for our business. So we have pursued actions which will enhance energy productivity, accelerate adoption of renewable energy, and take tangible steps towards creating circular economy. Encourage the adoption of micro irrigation. Water is one of the biggest challenges facing India today. Build green building, which our building construction company does, and carbon capture. Plant more than 1 million trees every year. I'm proud to say that we have planted 18 million trees in this decade already, and we continue to plant more. We are hoping to raise the bar further from 1 million, 1.5 million. We are saying, can we plant 2 million a year? We also look at the trees are plants, they are preserved. We look at their survival rate. It is not enough to plant. We also have an internal goal that 85 to 90% of the saplings we plant survive and become proper trees. Things have to be taken to conclusion and not left at just the lip service. Chairman sir, I would like to share few actions very quickly. First, on carbon neutrality front, our group chairman, Mr. Anand Mahindra, announced the commitment at Global Climate Action Summit in 2018. That was the year 2018 when we had first carbon neutral factory in India at Igatpuri. That became the first carbon neutral factory of the country. Second was science-based targets. At World Economic Forum Davos, Mr. Mahindra challenged all companies in the world to set science-based targets for themselves in 2018. Our group became the first group in India to join science-based programs. Till today, 22 group companies have committed, and it's all voluntary. There is no pressure on us. We committed through voluntary action that we will have set-based targets and we will achieve them with deadlines. M&M became first company in automobile and component sector in India to get approval for our science-based targets. Now, third item is energy productivity. Our 5 largest group companies have committed that we will double energy productivity in 25 years. Doubling is straight away being discussed. In fact, we were the first company in the world to commit to doubling energy productivity in 25 years. Renewable energy. Our group company Mahindra Holidays has committed that 60% of all its energy needs will be met through renewable energy and 100% by 2050. And we are actually on our way to beat those targets. In fact, our Kanha Forest Resort is the first holiday resort in the country which is 100% powered by renewable energy. And now once we have done it for one, now we have a template, we have a model which we can adopt for other resorts one by one. We will beat all the deadlines we have set for ourselves. Carbon pricing. We were the first company in India to use carbon pricing. We set an internal price in 2016 of $10 per ton. The beginning was made. One can debate what should be the price. More important thing is to make a beginning and start. And we said in all our actions, we will take the cost of carbon, which we release, and that will take into account that is the cost to the environment. And that therefore reflects in our price and cost structures. Zero waste to landfill. Once again, Mahindra was the first company to reach zero waste to landfill at a factory in India. This was also second factory in the whole world to be certified zero waste going out of the factory to landfill. Today, we have 22 factories and sites which have zero waste going to a landfill, thus reducing pressure on society. And last item is water security. We have been a water positive group since 2014. Chairman spoke about Mahindra Steel, which reduces water consumption by 70%. We also have Mahindra Micro Irrigation Company, which is helping reduce water consumption all over India through its technology, as well as many community projects, watershed projects we are implementing through our CSR, which are helping preserve water, save water, not to just let it run away to sea. Sir, I am sure that just like our group, what I shared were things which can be done. Idea is to inspire and motivate. Idea is not to boast. Very humbly, I have shared, it can all be done and it can be done in a defined time frame. We don't have to say 30 years and 50 years. All this has been done in last 5 years. I'm sure there are many other industry leaders who have also taken it upon themselves to ensure that their organization's business goals are carried out using sustainable practices. SDGs provide a framework which serves as a guideline for sustainable living integrating SDGs into business strategy will help us get positive dividends, which planet can sustain. Given the complex nature of the climate change, all stakeholders, including the industry and the policymakers, must join hands to help the world succeed against the negative effects of climate change. May we all succeed in this endeavor together. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shukla. I'm really impressed on the efforts which Mahindra Group is doing, and also your humility in saying that we are not just boasting. We are just telling the steps which our organization has taken and which can be taken by others as well. And at ICI, we would certainly like to reach out to you to take your help on developing some of the indices and maybe on some of the useful ways in which the MSME and each household can see now. I mean, I'm just thinking from whatever Madam Sanyukta and you have said, that can we also develop a film, say for 5 minutes, on which we can talk about the ways and means in which the families, so at home, what they can do to adopt sustainable practices in simple ways which are cost effective and which have a long-term impact. So, certainly we would see your help and also your help in achieving in basically these smaller things which people can do. So certainly we'll reach out to you. Thank you so much. In fact, your speech has also answered some of the questions which were asked by our esteemed participants. Thank you so much, sir. With this, I would request now my Vice Chairman Durgesh Kabraji to kindly welcome and introduce our Vice President, CA Dr. Debashish Mitra.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. It's indeed a pleasure for me to introduce our own CA Dr. Debashish Mitra, who is the Vice President of our institute. CA Debashish Mitra is serving ICI, the accounting profession, for more than 34 years, and with a great vigor and enthusiasm. Persuasive and intense trainer, he is renowned for his interactive deliberation in international financial reporting standards and corporate law. On international front, he was the chairman of Committee on Education, Training and Continuous Professional Development of SAFA, known as South Asian Federation of Accountants, and member of Audit Group of Confederation of Asian and Pacific Accountants. He has also served as a member of SAFA Committee on Auditing Standards and Quality Control. So with this brief introduction, I would now request Debashish Mitra ji, the Vice President of our institute, to address all of us.
Thank you very much, my council colleague Durgesh Kabraji, the Chairman of Sustainability Reporting Standards Board, Sanjeev Singhal, Durgesh Kabraji, the Vice Chairman, and of course, the President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Nihar in Jambusaria, Ms. Sanjukta Sardar, whom I tell you, I heard her with a lot of interest. Very amazed to see the kind of work being done by the Mahindra Group when Mr. Shah gave a presentation. And of course, Mr. Kalia is also already here. I'm sure he will educate us. And I have this great pleasure of welcoming Suresh Prabhu sir amidst our midst. Sir, such a great pleasure having you here once again. And I know that climate change, sir, is a very important, a topic very close to your heart. And so many of us are looking forward to hearing you speak. And Madam Apte, she's also here. A very, very good afternoon to all the delegates who are attending. And I believe from what Sandeep Bhai was telling us, that's more than 1,500 now. So, you see, it is fantastic. Let me tell you, sir, that over a period of time, we have now slowly and gradually shifting. The institute is slowly and gradually shifting toward from the financials, hardcore financials, to the area of non-financials. And last year, when the Sustainability Reporting Standards Board was set up, And this was set up when, you see, we have the Accounting Standards Board, which is doing so much of work. And when set up, we knew that we are going into an area which was a bit different from the area, you see, in which maybe me, the president, we see in which we have operated. And it was an area of SDGs, the Sustainability Development Goals. It was an area about the UN recommendations on that. And it was also an area about business reporting, business responsibility reporting. And, last year I had this occasion of attending the meetings of this committee. And I was amazed at the kind of, areas that this committee was trying to cover. This committee has had, courses on this. And today we have this sustainability reporting model 1.0. This committee has worked on this. And because of the working of this committee, SEBI has also come near to us, inquired that how we can join hands in this, in this common goal of, working in non-financial areas on sustainability development areas. And today, all this time we have been always knowing this a single bottom line. Now, what we have been told is this concept of triple bottom line. Triple bottom line concept is profit is still there, but along with profit, you talk about people and planet. So what is important is also people and planet along with profits. So we are really venturing into newer areas. The other day, I was listening to Suresh Prabhu sir. He had come and addressed in one of our meetings, and he was telling us that he was amazed that, in how many areas ICI has been moving in recent times. Veering away from their core areas of accounts, audit, taxation. And let me tell you, ICI, sir, moves into these areas because we feel that these are the areas where you can contribute as a partner in nation building. A lot of research is going on this sustainability reporting standards, in a committee led by Sanjeev Singhal. And the institute is doing everything possible to support the kind of work that this committee is doing. Climate change, we have the Paris Agreement, which was talking about 1.5 degrees Celsius and that zero emission by 2050. And I know that India is committed towards that. At the Institute, we are doing everything possible to see that we can contribute, our thoughts, our resources towards the betterment of the environment. I would not like to speak much because we have the President and Suresh Prabhuji who are going to speak. Let me take this opportunity of congratulating the Sustainability Reporting Standards Board for having organized this program. I have heard the deliberations before, just before I spoke, and I thought the deliberations were of extremely high order. And I would urge both Sanjeev Singhal and Durgesh Kabra and the committee to do everything possible to ensure that, the Institute's role as a partner in nation building is stressed on. And the flag of the Institute and the profession is kept flying very high. With these words, I again thank you for having invited me here and wishing all those who are listening to us the very best in their future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, CA Dr. Devashish Mitra ji, the Honorable Vice President of ICI. And we recognize the esteemed presence of our own CA Suresh Prabhu ji. And before I invite him, I would like to request our Honorable President CA Nihar N. Jambusaria ji to deliver his keynote address. CA Nihar Jambusaria ji, besides being the highest torchbearer of our profession, is also a member of the PIAB advisory group of the IFAC, and he in his capacity as President ICI is representing on the International Integrated Reporting Council IIRC and the board of SAFA. And he's also served as member of SAFA Committee on Professional Accountants in Business, and sustainability is very core to his heart. And sir, I would also like to share that, taking the clue from the earlier speakers, Sustainability Board has already accepted the task of making some useful messages in the form of video films on how the MSMEs and people at their household can work towards sustainability, can contribute towards sustainability. And we will also see that if we can develop it in the local languages. And for the benefit of all, I would like to also share that now more than 2,000 members are watching it live. And for the benefit of all the esteemed members, we would also like to share that under the leadership of CA Neha Jambusaria ji, this year ICI has instituted two international awards in the area of climate change and gender equality. I certainly wanted to mention it on the World Environment Day. And with this, without taking much time, I would straight away request our Honorable President CA Neha Jambusaria ji to kindly deliver his keynote address. Over to you. Sir, you are on mute. Kindly unmute yourself.
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Sanjeevji. Today's chief guest, Honorable Member of Parliament, and also Prime Minister Sherpa to G7 and G2, CS Suresh Prabhuji, and who has always been a guide to us in many endeavors of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Vice President of the Institute, CA Dr. Debashish Mitraji, the Chairman and Vice Chairman of Sustainability Reporting Standards Board, CA Sanjeev Singhal and CA Durgesh Kabraji. Today's speakers, Ms. Sanyukta from Niti Aayog, Dr. Vinita from Tere Policy Center, Sri Prakash Suklaji from Mahindra and Mahindra, who got first award in sustainability last year, and Sri Chaitanya Kaliaji, who is yet to speak, from EY. Friends, let me at the outset congratulate and compliment the Sustainability Reporting Standards Board for organizing this much needed program, Save Our Mother Earth, and that too on World Environment Day. So it is the right occasion to take up this program and very seriously take up on SDGs what we are required to do. Particularly, let me mention at the Institute, whether it is making people aware of GST or Vivad Se Vishwas scheme or COVID-19, whatever be the endeavor of the government, the Institute has always stood as a partner in nation building with the government. On COVID-19 also, you are aware what initiatives the Institute and its 164 branches have taken. On revival of economy last year to Niti Aayog and to ministries, we have sent our inputs. And now on sustainability development goals, this board is heading and making a way for all to understand what sustainability is and what is its importance. Though I will not take much time as Dr. C.S. Suresh Prabhuji is here to guide us, but let me mention about 2-3 things which are very important. Let me again mention that Sanjeevji, you took over SRSB last year when it was formed for the first time. And even chartered accountants did not know what will be the role of this board. And you make this board so much active and aggressively you took up the SDGs as also BRSR initiative of SEBI. And I see our engagement with SEBI and Niti Aayog, which is so prominent, and both the SEBI and Niti Aayog are appreciating that Institute has contributed so well to what they are doing. And let us continue this, because as rightly mentioned by even Vice President, that now profit alone is not relevant and important for the businesses. Unless we look after Mother Earth, preserve the planet, and look after people, then this profit is of no use. Profit has to create value for human beings. And this value can be created only when we look after planet as well as people. And that is how SRSB's role is going to be very important. This year we launched Financial and Tax Literacy Drive. I think soon at SRSB, I would suggest that you launch Sustainability Literacy Drive. Very rightly mentioned by Suklaji, that this sustainability drive should not be confined to only top 1,000 companies for which SEBI has made it mandatory to report. It has to percolate down not only to private businesses, but even to individuals. I see when I come from my home to Institute's office that even today when trains are not working, people travel in one car with one passenger. They should do the pulling of car, and in one car, at least with masks and everything, 3 people can very easily travel, or 4 persons. And that is how we can help Mother Earth survive. And today the reports show that concentrations of major greenhouse gases, CO2, CH4 and N2O are the major concerns. India is the 3rd largest CO2 emitter. Sanyukta ji mentioned 80,000 to 1,60,000 trees are cut only to support paper industry. When we have witnessed in last more than a year after the pandemic that we can depend more and more on virtual mode and use emails and other facilities instead of cutting trees and use paper. Today, in today's newspaper, very amazing and very disturbing news has come. Amazon forest, which is spread over 21 lakh square meters and which is known as lungs of the earth. At present, every minute, trees equivalent to 3 football grounds are brought down every minute. So if we proceed at this rate, how will this earth survive if we cut all trees? Wildlife is reducing, trees are reducing, and our CSR committee has put a goal of planting 10 lakhs trees during the year. And very rightly mentioned by Suklaji, our job doesn't end at planting trees, but we have to see that they survive and grow into full-fledged trees and they sustain. So let us make it a project and see that we contribute to the maximum to the efforts of government. And very rightly, I also agree with the view that this sustainability should come from within. Government can spread awareness, our institute can spread awareness, train people, but after they are trained, they have to realize that all these profits are relevant only if the planet and people survive. And for that, all efforts on SDGs have to be supported. For Mother Earth, let us do what best we can do. And the board is doing very well. I am very proud of it. And we will continue to put in all these efforts. So with this, let me thank the board for organizing this program. And I'm sure that you will take up sustainability literacy drive equally seriously in the future. Today we have Suresh Prabhuji. Let us listen to him. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure speaking with all of you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, with this, I have the pleasure of now giving a very brief introduction of our Honorable Chief Guest C.S. Suresh Prabhuji, the Honorable Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha and Prime Minister Sherpa to G7 and G20. C.S. Suresh Prabhuji is shaping the official agenda of the Government of India on key issues for G7 and G20 summit. In a short span, he has engaged with global leaders, thinkers, and has led delegations across the globe. He was formerly the Minister of Railways, Minister of Commerce and Industry, Civil Aviation, and for several other departments. He has chaired the comprehensive program of the Government of India aimed at ensuring the country against water stress through linkage of major rivers in the Himalayan and Peninsular regions of the country. He is known as a man of action, and we all know that, having a penchant for undertaking reforms, scripting turnarounds, and achieving superlative results by working in the mission mode. He is well known for his easy accessibility to the public and particularly to our esteemed and beloved profession, which encourages new ideas and viewpoints. He is also a believer in people's participation in the working of ministries under him, especially through the involvement of stakeholders. And sir, last year on the World Environment Day, when you came at the ICI, you mentioned that can we develop some measurable yardsticks? So, sir, with that inspiration, we have developed the first ever sustainability reporting maturity model version 1.0, which is a quantitative model and company, and this on a score of 0 to 300. Companies can score anywhere between 0 to 300. It's a self-evaluation tool, and 4 categories have been identified: 0 to 75, 76 to 150, 151 to 225, and 226 to 300. And a company which is in the 4th stage, we have been categorized as leading by example. And sir, to my knowledge, this is the world's first ever sustainability reporting maturity model. And soon we are coming out with its version 2.0. And sir, taking a clue from what our honorable president has said, I have already outlined and told my office about the sustainability literacy drive. And sir, we assure you that within 1 month, we will be ready with it so that on 1st July, you can announce it. With this, I would like to invite our chief guest, Honorable C.S. Suresh Prabhuji, for his address. Thank you, sir. Sir, you are on mute.
Yeah. So, my dear friend, the President Niyarji, Vice President Mitraji, the Chairman of this committee is Dr. Sanjeev Singalji, Vice President, Vice Chairman Durgesh Kabraji, and all my other distinguished chartered accountant friends and the fellow panelists. Today, the world is celebrating World Environment Day. But are we really celebrating, or it is like a condolence meeting? It is to express happiness or to express concern. The world is really facing an existential crisis, not just a crisis, existential. And the threatened call for existence has not come from anybody else. It has come from human beings themselves. Normally, a judge, when he is going to give a punishment for a homicide, a manslaughter, murder, he will always look at the circumstances. And normally, at least in India, the life punishment is reserved for the rarest of the rare crimes. But if there was a judge, and there is a judge who is sitting upstairs somewhere, we cannot see him, he finally pronounced his judgment. And if he has to pronounce a judgment for not only rarest of the rarest, but probably the only rare crime ever committed, that will be, he will condemning the entire human beings and would say, you don't deserve to live, that's why extinction is the right option for you. And on that day, we are celebrating this. I would say observing it, not celebrating it. We are observing the day, not celebrating it. And therefore, I want to congratulate the Institute for in such a gloomy background. And Jambu Sairaji gave a very good example of how we are deforesting, at what rate. So we don't want to kill ourselves, but we want to kill as fast as possible. It's a mercy killing. We have said no mercy to anybody. We want to kill immediately. And in that gloomy background, I must congratulate the Institute for coming out with a very noble objective. Financial reports are final statements. It gives a reader of a statement the state of affairs of the company or the entity on which the report is prepared. The financial reports, how you raise the capital, how you deploy the capital, what is the state of affairs for the company in terms of assets and liabilities, all that is known and put forward. But every entity on which such report is prepared uses a lot of resources which are not normally reported in these financial statements. Every economic activity worldwide uses one most precious resource, which is also scarce resource, which is a natural resource. And natural resources are leveraged into economic activity. Minerals, which is a natural resource, is converted into manufactured product. A water, which is a natural resource, is used for converting. Water can be used for generating energy. You use land for development of economy, whether it's form of agriculture or industry or even services. You use land, which is a natural resource. So you use natural resources for converting and using them for making economic activity possible. So you make report of an entity on financial reports, the economic activity that happens. But how is that economic activity possible without the natural resources? So where do you integrate the two? Natural resources and economic resources are not put together. And that's why we came out with a concept of integrated accounting, integrated reporting. I remember in 1998, when I was the Minister of Environment, I started a concept of natural resource accounting. We must account for those resources, put opportunity cost on the resources. So that's a different matter. But when we talk about integrated reporting, I remember some years ago when I was on the ICI Research Foundation, we had prepared this integrated reporting. There's an institute called GRI, and we are trying to prepare a concept of how can we make this integrated reporting. It involved even the CIA, because the industry finally must accept it. And our own institute, we are trying to work on that. But then, having done that, today we are coming to one next level. And that's why I want to congratulate my institute. Sustainable Development Goals, reporting on them. See, we had the world leaders had agreed to come out with Millennium Development Goals, which are supposed to be achieved at the end of the 2000 year, the millennium. And we thought that poverty will be reduced to half, and many goals were mentioned at that time. But then we came to a level of understanding that on one hand, we want economic growth, because when we want to reduce poverty, we need economic growth. On the other hand, there is an overgrowing preoccupation and concern globally about depletion of natural capital. How do you marry both? So we came out before the world community, the leaders agreed that we'll have sustainable development goals, which brings both together. Sustainable development goals, there has to be a monitoring mechanism. UN has some system put in place wherein the Secretary General of the United Nations put before the world leaders this report. In fact, the G7, which is supposed to meet, the G7 leaders are supposed to meet in the next few days in London, in UK. And then there's a G20 meeting which comes, and there every G7 and G20 meetings, leaders meeting, the United Nations Secretary General also attends, along with all the multilateral agencies, leaders, whether it's WTO, World Bank, all of them. But this particular report is submitted at macro level. What is necessary is, can we prepare sustainable development reports from the corporate perspective? are the corporates fulfilling these goals or not? Because if you talk about world has to achieve a particular level of sustainability, it can never happen unless countries do it. But how can countries achieve sustainable development goals unless each and every part of that country's activities also contribute to it? And the corporates are in a way biggest culprit because they are the ones globally are the reason for industrial evolution. And the industrial evolution is responsible for climate change, which is proved now beyond doubt. So if corporates can be the reason for it, but also the solution for it, unless we bring this reporting into the corporate themselves, what is the use of Secretary General giving a report to the global audience unless each country report is available? And what is that country report which does not bring together the activities of the corporates? And that's why this particular initiative of my institute is one of the most important initiative. Going from integrated reporting, moving into now sustainable development goals related reporting. And I congratulate Dr. Singhal, Kabraji, and of course my president and vice president for taking this leadership. If you don't account for the real reason for economic activity, we are going to crumble. So everything that we are doing today is in quest of GDP and economic growth. Forget GDP, there will be a decline in GDP. It happened last year in most of the countries in the world because of pandemic. But that happened because of disruption, because of lockdowns. But if there's no natural resource available, where is the economic activity? And forget the contraction of GDP, there will not be anything. And sustainable development goals, therefore, are very critical to bring both economic growth as well as natural growth, natural resource growth. If not growth, at least use of them in a very sensible manner, possible only when we have such reporting standards in place. I am sure as we go along, we'll bring in the new element into this. Because even sustainable development goals are in many areas. There's water element to it. In fact, water is one of the cross-sectional, cross-cutting issue. So we'll have to also think about, Dr. Singhal, how do you bring water accounting? There is water audit. That is another matter. When I was a Minister of Energy, somebody said we need energy audit. I said you can do an audit when there is accounting. Is there any energy accounting in place? You are doing energy audit without having energy accounting. So how can you have water audit without water accounting? And how can you have water accounting unless you know the basic way in which water is created? Water cannot be manufactured. It can be technically, but not at the scale we require. So basically, the entire complex function of creation of water has to be understood when you bring in water accounting spirit to it. So when you talk about sustainable development goal reporting, you must have a backward relationship with all those sectors which are actually getting reflected into sustainable development goal. There's a sustainable goal in health. But there's a direct relationship between water and health. Water quality is the principal reason why there are health crises. In normal times, not in pandemic times, the exceptional situation. But otherwise, then there are gender issues, which is also part of your sustainable development goals. There's a direct relationship between water and gender. So unless you understand these complexities of what reflects into sustainable development goal, these are very tangible. But the abstract, which is behind the most visible part, will never be able to give the proper, structured, system by which this can be achieved on a long-term sustainable basis. Therefore, I'm sure my institute will work on these issues also, the back-ended part of it, and also help the world the benefit of a professional advice by someone like chartered accountants who are the best equipped to deal with issues like this. Because there are, as I said, cross-cutting issues, multidisciplinary issues. There's no one better than chartered accountants who deal with such issues, deal with various sectors at the same time. And therefore, I was congratulate you. I know I always look at watch when I speak, because I know I am under watch by you. And therefore, I would like to stop here. And also we want to once again congratulate the institute. I don't know, there are many reasons why I must keep congratulating my own institute for doing such a commendable work. All committees contribute towards the overall growth of the institute's professional competence. And this is one committee which, in my opinion, one of the most important, because finally what it comes down to, reporting. Ultimately, everything is about report. And this is so important because if you really look at it, how do you know the health of a human being? You do blood test. Then you know everything, whether it is your heart is doing well, kidney, liver are doing well. So that blood report gives a complete health indicators in place. So this kind of reporting will give you the complete understanding about the health of the planet, health of the society, health of the world community. And that's why I congratulate you. Look forward to your working in this direction even more vigorously and contributing significantly to this intellectual, but also very important, socially necessary advice. So thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir. We are really blessed by your compliments and your advice to the once again. This time you mentioned water accounting. This time you mentioned gender equality. And sir, this year we have announced an international award for gender equality. We are working on the criteria, and I can assure you that we will surely come up to your expectation. Thank you so much for your valuable time and guidance. With this, I would now like to hand over the proceedings to C.A. Durgesh Kabraji for taking up the next two sessions. Durgesh bhai, you're on mute.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. It was indeed a pleasure again hearing Suresh Prabhuji, who has guided us and then gave more idea about the water accounting and energy accounting. So being accounting professional body, I think we may we should look into it and how this can be beneficial for our members. So under your leadership and leadership of Nihar Bhai and Devashish Mitraji will proceed in those lines also. We have today with us the another speaker, Dr. Vinita H. Apte, who is the founder and director of Tere Policy Center. She has earlier worked with United Nations Environment Program as consultant, as a communication expert and senior official, and international expert on sustainable development and green economy. She possesses hands-on experience in forging innovative and award-winning partnership with governments, NGOs, and international organizations on critical issues of strengthening synergies and led a program on sustainable livelihood in the world natural heritage. With this brief introduction, I request Vinita Apte, please share your views today.
Thank you very much, Durgesh for the introduction. I feel honored to be a panel member on this occasion of World Environment Day. And all the dignitaries of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India and my colleagues on the panel, I wish every success on the endeavor which we have taken over.
I just wanted to introduce in 2 minutes about my organization. I am a founder of this organization, TER Policy Center. The word is TER. It's a French word, which means earth. And we stand for technology, education, research, and rehabilitation for the environment. I have established this organization in 2009 when I was working with United Nations Environment Program at Paris. And looking at the scenario of the environment, as well as that time it was an issue of global warming. But now looking at that environment problems, I have established here because I really don't want it to work outside the India, and I wanted to work for India. So I started with that, and we are now civil society partner of United Nations. I'm an observer of ECOSOC, which is a part of UNFCCC. We are partners of UNESCO, IUCN, and other international organizations, and we have many collaborations in national and international level. I'm very proud to have you all because I am very much, I am very much heart to heart with the chartered accountants because my husband is chartered accountant, and I know how he is monitoring, and his working style is of monitoring everything. So when I started this organization, he was under the dilemma whether it will be successful or not. And one day when we were talking about how I have what my vision of NGO, he said the all NGOs are they are just running here and there, and it will be a small NGO. And that time I have told him that I will take a challenge, and you can see my NGO will grow like anything, like the trees are growing, unless the people will come and cut it. So this is growing organization, and I must happy to share some thoughts about the SDGs, because I could see all people who have gathered here and even listening to us, they must be very passionate about environment. And Sanjeev ji too, I think he is very passionate about SDGs. So I came from the public sector because I was working in Nationalized Bank. Then I went to United Nations. It was a bigger platform for working on NGOs. And even in bank, I was in the liaison team. So when I was on the other side of the table, I used to see the small organizations who are growing and who need us developmental support. And that time I have so many fights in between me and my bosses, because they were looking after the benefits which we could give give the financial assistance. Then there has to be, like chartered accountants say, that there has to be a profit ratio, and there has to be some figures which can be pleased to the people in the organization. And I was always on the other side, and I used to tell them that these small figures will help to the small and needy NGOs and needy people, which can grow further, and they will give you empire. Means my understanding, and even though it's a truth, universal truth, that not a single business can survive if there will be not a good survival of environment. Even in a small offices, if there is not a good environment, people cannot work properly. And when you're talking about SDGs and business, so business needs to look after enthusiastically for the environmental issues. Means they need to reach out. Networking is very, very important. As you say, there are many reports are coming up, and all the industries, those who are going for the CSR, corporate social responsibilities, they are looking after the report. Report is important, no issues about it. But this reporting is only possible when the NGO or any civil society partners are capable of doing all these things. Sometimes they are doing a lot of things, but they cannot make it in a reporting kind of structure, because they don't have that much of financial helps, or they don't have that much of people around them. So all the businesses need to see if they are sustainable without so much of finance. They will sustainable if you can give them help to survive. So reporting is important, but at the same time, monitoring of those big elephants, those who are big elephants in this civil society partnerships and all, they also have to look after that they will grow and they will give the helping hands to the people. That way it will be, you can achieve the sustainable development goals. Sustainable development goals is nothing else than what we have learned in our childhood from our traditions, that all these things, hunger, slum development, education, and everything we have learned in our childhood. But we don't implement it. When we celebrate the World Environment Day, we just celebrate, we talk, and we see that we have to do that, we have to do this. But the implementation is lacking over there. Means the climate change is not now nearby us. We are living in climate change. And I remember in 2012, we had a partnership with one big industry, and we have awarded Mahindra Group for their fantastic environmental initiatives. I really, I was very amazed that time, because it was my first experience of awards. And we have made the evaluation, we had made films, then we have presented in front of juries, international and national juries. There were 17 to 18 juries over there. And then the Mahindra was there for the first winner of that Earth Care Award. And that time, I saw that how many industries and many people, industry is not the thing, the group of people who are representing, that is industry or that is corporates and that is everything. So they have inbuilt in heritage, and they think of to give something good extension to their business with the enthusiasm. And that is what lacking in other businesses. I'm not telling Sanjeevji, you have gathered couple of good people. Not only couple of, we can say it's a good networking of chartered accountants, and all are like-minded people you have gathered. But at the bottom of that pyramid, we have to look after that how we will extend our hands to the small parts of the civil society at the grassroots level, and that business, that how it will grow the businesses, and the environment will be coming up with the clean air and green economy. So Paris Agreement is always saying that you need to change your behavioral pattern. The Paris Agreement was very successful treaty, we can say, because they have gathered the European and American people. Those they need to change their behavior, and they come to the as good as developing countries kind of thing. So they need to pay. Means I was working in Ozone Action Program. So ozone means Montreal Protocol is the most successful treaty. Why it is so successful? Because all the businesses, all the countries come together. They put some finance to transform the technologies. And though it was a successful treaty, I wish with your intervention and the new award which you are going to organize next year, with all these things, we will successful even fighting the climate change. Thank you.
Absolutely, Dr. Vinita, thank you so much. And you can certainly talk to your husband that, look, your institute invited me, so my NGO is really contributing. So you can certainly make a statement. And when you talked about the people at the bottom, the social stock exchange will actually help in. And for that also, ICAI has been made as the SRO, self-regulatory organization, which will be making the social audit standard. And it will be our pleasure to invite you as one of the experts to make the social audit standard. My office, who is listening to it, will reach out to you for helping the institute in developing the social audit standard. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much for being here. Over to you, Durgesh Bhai.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. After listening to Vinita Apteji's turn of another very learned faculty who has always been with the SRSB, Sri Chaitanya Kalia. Chaitanya is the product leader of climate change and sustainability services for Ernst & Young. He has over 18 years of experience and has worked with 80% of top 100 Indian companies in the area of climate change, sustainability, and CSR. He is a seasoned professional in developing capital cost outlay models for undertaking sustainability initiatives and protocols for monitoring the project performance based on agreed performance indicator. Over and above this introduction, I must tell in last 1.5 years or more, the day when this SRSB has started, the Chaitanya has contributed a lot to the various activities of SRSB. With this, I request Chaitanya to take over and address all the members present.
Thank you, Durgesh Bhai. Thank you. It's my pleasure again back to be here. It feels like a family to me today. It doesn't, after 1.5 years, doesn't feel like I'm an invited member. So, Chairman Sanjeev ji, our invitees today, Shri Shukla ji, Madam Apte ji. I really want to start once again to thank this committee who does immense amount of work, and directionally it is so accurate and so timely. Something feels like my colleague Singhal ji has kind of had some vision that this is going to be very important for the chartered accountant community, and it rightly so many things are falling in place. When I see from the outside, that is becoming very, very important. So once again, I would say, best wishes after hearing our Honorable Minister. I don't want to use the word congratulations, but let's say best wishes for the World Environment Day, at least which, in some sort of reminds us that we have to do a lot of activities. And all of you know that, we are in a time scale of 10 years, we are in a situation where we are launching this year World Environment Day. UN is launching a decade of ecosystem restoration, and it is coinciding with the Sustainable Development Goal target of 2030, which means all of us, I just heard a comment, there are 2,000 participants. So to all of us, even more, this is a decade of actions on several of these areas. This is what I would say. So what are the actions? And therefore, as per my today's talk, I would try to cover a few points. I know I'm a little bit of mindful of time as well, but I think these points are important, and we need a lot of support. When I'm saying we need, I'm saying technical, scientific, NGO community. We are looking forward to our CA friends and experts, and we need your help. And some element of that, our Honorable Minister also touched upon. So let me start with a few questions which are coming again and again. And let's start from this SEBI related report, which is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report. If you read the SEBI circular, it very clearly says something like, I don't remember the exact word, but something like that BRSR, purpose of BRSR is to disclose non-financial information in line with or equivalent to financial information. So which means the detailing of BRSR is now going to be much, much higher. So that is number one. And we all know this is the current year of preparation, which is not mandatory, but is the year of preparation. So everyone who is listening to them, I'm sure you would have looked at it. If you have not looked at it, a lot of information is available. A lot of education material is available with the council, and there are training courses happening. Please do participate. It is going to be there, and it is not easy. Everything becomes easy once you do it. Till you have not done it, it is not easy. And it is a detailed disclosure required. A lot of hard work has happened behind publishing this BRSR. So again, kudos to all the people who have worked at the back end. They have taken cognizance of a lot of international framework, and every company then has a desire to disclose in much more detail, and that is what will come up in forefront. What happens once you disclose your financial information in the annual report? there is a investor meet. The analysts are asking more information about how company's performance is going on, etc., etc. Same thing is likely to happen. Rather, if you ask some of our colleagues from investor relation, they will say it is already happening, which means that all this information which is going to the public domain, it will get analyzed by several people on non-financial parameter as well. And then they will, already started, they will try to give a rating, they will try to give a score. So where do you stand? Sanjeev ji just talked about maturity model which has been developed. That could be a very good starting point. Where do we stand? Because once you start disclosing all the information, probably next year when this is mandatory, there are experts who will look at the information and take a view of it. Natural question comes, what happens if take a view? What is going to happen? I mean, is it going to make any difference? The answer is yes, it is already making a difference. And since I am, talking to or addressing to my fellow CAs, I think most important, it is addressing or going to address few things. At least it is really today addressing is the access to capital. Specifically, I would say on the equity side. If the companies are trying to raise equity, it is going to be a significantly important element. And there are many, we have seen some of the very large asset management companies, they are writing letters to their investee companies that you have to meet this requirement. In some sense, if you don't meet, then probably the investment will not be available. So it is easy to, rather, it can be concluded that this is going to be significantly important from that perspective, access to finance kind. Second is, what about, on the credit side? Is it going to make certain impact? We don't know yet. Probably once we have to wait for a couple of years and see how much data information is available. And are then the agencies along with the credit rating agency, are they considering it? Are they thinking about it? Definitely answer is yes. A lot of discussions are happening. In summary, on this day when actually we are trying to restore, I don't want to give a lot of, technical or financial flavor to that. But being in thick of the action, I just want to, sound a bell saying that please make use of the great work that the institute is doing, because it is already there. And the level of preparedness, believe me, if you look at Europe, if you look at many other countries, is not as high. We have started, so we are much better than several other countries, but not there yet. And today, I don't want to throw the numbers, but we know how much dependent we are on FDI and how so much of fund flow is happening. The question is where this fund will land. Will it land in your company or will it land somewhere else? That decision, some of the discussion that we are doing and we continue to do in this forum is going to decide. That is the simple message I want to leave behind to all my CA friends who are listening, because this is going to be significantly important. It's a collaboration within the organization, within the fraternity, and very, very important role all of us has to play here. So, Durgesh bhai, with this, I will take to, close my comments here. Once again, kudos to the entire team of BRSR of the great work that you are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chaitanya ji. And indeed, thanks to the chairman also of the Sustainability Reporting Standard Board, Sanjeev Singhal ji. Friends, let me conclude this webinar today. The deliberation at the webinar were indeed enriching for all of us who were participated in this particular thing, and I'm sure that the insight and views which have been expressed today will be beneficial to all of us, would push scaling up of ambitions and recording of priorities towards the achieving the sustainable development goals. In absentia, Sanyukta ji has very aptly explained role of private sector in achieving the SDGs. Suresh Prabhuji, the Honorable MP, has really expressed the urgent need for working towards achievement of SDGs. The complex and peculiar issues highlighted by him will guide Institute's action plan and partnering with nation in achieving sustainability agenda. As far as Shukla ji is concerned, he has shared best practices which are worth emulating and what Mahindras are doing. Dr. Vinita Apte ji has shared issues related to small organizations and also role of CAs in journey towards the SDGs. Last but not least, Chaitanya has captured growing importance of sustainability reporting for corporate, especially by regulators and investors. And I'm sure that by the various guidance given by all these learned speakers today, I'm sure all the participants will get immense benefit. And we at the Sustainability Reporting Standard Board continue to give you best from our side. Here, I would like to thank in absentia CA Suresh Prabhuji, the Honorable MP, Ms. Sangeeta Samaddarji, and Dr. Vinita Apteji, who is already there on the screen. In absentia, Sri Prakash Shuklaji and Sri Chaitanya Kaliaji, who is there on the screen, for sparing their valuable time and joining us in the celebration of World Environment Day. So and I also like to thank President Sir, Vice President Sir, their thought leadership and encouragement for taking up new initiatives in SRSB. I would also like to compliment our chairman, CA Dr. Sanjeev Singhal, for his passion in promoting the sustainability agenda. Under his leadership, we are doing wonderful things into this. And also to all the participants to this particular webinar who has attended in large number, and I'm sure everybody will get benefit out of it. Thank you all. Thank you, friends. Thank you all. Good day to all of you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.